Bernie Sanders woke up this morning facing a wider delegate gap with Hillary Clinton, wiping out most of the gains he made with his hot winning streak, which is now over. A lot of questions now swirling about what happens next with his campaign. We got some questions. Luckily, we have someone here who can answer all of them. Campaign manager Jeff Weaver, who joins us from inside the Beltway, where he is most comfortable, of course. Jeff Weaver, good afternoon, good evening.
How are you, gentlemen?
Fine. So you've said some stuff since last night's results. Tad Devine has said some stuff. Just tell us clearly and plainly, what is Senator Sanders' intention now going forward in terms of how he'll conduct himself and what his goals are?
Well, the goal is what it has always been, which is to win the nomination of the Democratic Party for president. So that remains the goal. It's an attainable goal. The senator is feeling good. We have 5 contests coming up next week. And starting tomorrow, he'll be campaigning. He has been campaigning in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania already. He's going to be going back to Pennsylvania. We're going to be going to all the other 4 other states and fighting hard for those delegates.
Jeff, which of those states next week do you feel like you have a reasonable prospect of winning?
Well, I certainly think Rhode Island is going to be a positive state for us, I believe. I believe that Pennsylvania is extremely competitive right now. And I think we have a shot in Connecticut. And we'll fight for the other 2 as well.
If last night, I think you guys have been pretty clear, was not as good as you thought it would be or hoped it would be. When we last talked to you, you said you had a secret list in your pocket that showed you how to get to a majority of elected delegates. After last night, do you still have such a list?
Absolutely. In fact, we updated it last night after the results come in. We keep it. It's a dynamic document, which is constantly updated to reflect the reality of the number of delegates.
So to name 3 states that are left to vote besides California where you think you will pick up substantial net delegates.
Well, I think we had the opportunity to do great in Pennsylvania. I think we're going to do extremely well in Oregon. I think Indiana is very competitive right now. I think we're going through May. I think May is going to be a great month for Senator Sanders. I think he has the opportunity to recreate. There's obviously only 4 contests instead of 8, but he has the opportunity to do what he just did before New York, which is to run the table. So there's a lot of states out there with a lot of delegates. New Jersey, another state where I think he's going to do very well. Opportunity to pick up a lot of delegates.
Jeff, let me ask you to clarify a little bit. Let me ask you to clarify something you said last night on MSNBC about flipping superdelegates, and it was a relatively truncated discussion, but. Let us stipulate for the sake of argument, let us stipulate that at the end of the voting, we wake up on June 8th, and Secretary Clinton is ahead in the popular vote, and Secretary Clinton is ahead in the pledged delegate count. Is it your contention that you will then spend the summer trying to convince superdelegates that Senator Sanders should be the nominee?
Well, look, clearly we would have to substantially close the delegate lead that the Secretary currently has. I mean, if it looks like it does today, that would seem to be a fruitless endeavor. If we have substantially closed the gap, if Senator Sanders has had a run of victories, if the general election polls continue to show what they show now and have consistently shown for a couple of months, which is he does better against every Republican than does the Secretary. In many cases, she loses to Kasich, in some cases, Cruz. So if that's the circumstance, then it does make sense to talk to superdelegates who want to win.
So again, Jeff, just to be clear, you're saying there's a circumstance in which you could be behind in pledged delegates and behind in the popular vote, and you would still think it was appropriate to spend the summer trying to convince superdelegates to switch to Senator Sanders away from Secretary Clinton?
Well, right. Given what I just told you, yes. I mean, within that context.
Have you ever been to the Clinton headquarters in Brooklyn?
I have never been there. No. I'm waiting for my invitation. I'm waiting for my invitation.
I think the place must be filled with fainting couches, because the tender mercies of the people who work there, this has been one of the most mild, battles in terms of rhetoric I've ever covered between two candidates, and yet they really get upset when Senator Sanders or your campaign says anything about her. Nonetheless, there's this fetish now in the media and with the Clinton campaign about, will Bernie Sanders continue to criticize Secretary Clinton? So on issues like her Wall Street speech transcripts, her paid speech transcripts, on issues like her position on Wall Street, her position on the Iraq War, will Senator Sanders back off, continue the same, or escalate rhetoric on those comparative issues?
Well, look, this campaign is about a comparison between candidates. So on the substantive issues of the campaign, and that includes how people raise money, how you raise money is a substantive issue demonstrates your commitment to real campaign finance reform. He's certainly going to keep talking about that. He's going to keep talking about the differences on fracking, on Wall Street, on climate change, on minimum wage. And he's been for $15 forever, the secretary.
Yeah.
Maybe for 15, maybe for 12, I don't know.
So for those Clinton people who say, fine, let him keep running, but he should really ramp down the rhetoric that could hurt Secretary Clinton in the general election, you say what?
What I have to say is what they've seen in this campaign. I mean, this has been a mild campaign, as you just pointed out. In the event that the secretary becomes the nominee, I mean, the kind of firestorm that she's going to face from the Republicans is going to make this look like nothing. Well, so I think.
Well, Jeff, obviously it's true that she would face a lot of criticism from Republicans. I think the concern on the part of Clinton people is that you guys have ratcheted up and are criticizing her on her character, criticizing her on her judgment, suggesting she's not qualified at one point during the New York primary, now accusing them of breaking the law on campaign finance, that those things are giving ammunition to Republicans that will eventually be deployed against her. Again, what do you have to say about those charges?
Well, first of all, I think that those charges are baseless. The question of judgment has been an issue in this campaign from the very beginning, her support of the Iraq War being the sort of prime example of her bad judgment. But let's be clear, those of us who know politics know that there's an oppo book on Secretary Clinton in the Republican headquarters that's probably 3 feet thick. And there's tons of stuff in there that we have certainly chosen not to go near, that they're going to roll out the day after this nomination is sewn up, if in fact she does that. So, look, we're not giving them anything. Believe me, they have plenty of high-paid oppo people. The David Brock Republican. Well, he used to be a Republican himself, but the corresponding Republican David Brocks, who, believe me, have been doing research on Secretary Clinton, and I'm sure on us as well, for months and months and months. They have plenty of ammunition.
Yep. Jeff, we got to go. So, real quick answer, one sentence. If Senator Sanders is not the nominee, will he stay in the Democratic Party forever now?
Well, he is a Democrat. He said he's a Democrat, and he's going to be supporting the Democratic nominee, whoever that is.
But he's a member of the Democratic Party now for life?
Yes, he is.